Welcome to My English Podcast.
Learn, practice, and speak with confidence.
Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to My English Podcast. I'm your host, Mia. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Max. It's always a pleasure to be here with you all. We hope you're feeling good and ready for a great conversation about English.
We really do. You know, Max, I was thinking this week about what the hardest part of learning a language is. Is it grammar? Is it vocabulary?
That's a big question. For me, I think the answer is none of those things. The hardest part for me was confidence. Just feeling brave enough to open my mouth and speak.
Exactly. I feel that so much. You can have all the words and rules in your head, but if you are too scared to use them, it doesn't matter. It's like having a beautiful car, but being too afraid to drive it.
That's a perfect way to describe it. I remember being in a group of native speakers, and I wanted to say something so badly, but my heart was beating so fast. I was thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if they laugh at me? What if I sound stupid?
Oh, that feeling is the worst. Your mind just goes blank, and you stay quiet. I have done that so many times. And later, I always feel sad. I feel like I missed a chance to connect with people.
Me too. This fear of making mistakes can really stop our progress. So today, we want to talk about this. We want to talk about a kind of formula we've been thinking about for building real, strong confidence. We're calling it speak, fail, grow, repeat.
I love that. It sounds so powerful. So let's start at the beginning. Why are we so afraid to make mistakes when we speak English? Where does that feeling come from?
That's a big question. I think it comes from our school days. You know, when you're in school, if you make a mistake on a test, you get a lower grade. Your teacher puts a red mark next to it. So our brain learns very early, mistakes are bad. Mistakes mean failure.
That makes so much sense. We carry that feeling with us. So when we speak English, we want to be perfect, just like on a test.
Exactly. But I've been trying to think about it differently. Learning a language isn't a school test. It's a skill, like learning to cook or learning to dance. Have you ever tried to learn a new recipe without making any mistakes?
No, of course not. I have burned many things in my kitchen.
And did you stop cooking forever?
No, I just learned not to leave the rice on the stove for so long.
And that's the secret, isn't it? That's the mindset we need. A mistake isn't a full stop. It isn't a sign that you're bad at something. It's just information. Your burnt rice gave you information. This was too long. A speaking mistake gives you information. Oh, that's not how you say that word. That's all it is.
Wow. Changing mistake to information feels so different. It takes the emotion out of it. It's not so personal.
Precisely. And that brings us to the first part of our little formula, speak. To get this information, this data, you have to do something first. You have to speak.
But that's the scary part. How do we start speaking when we feel so nervous?
Well, I think the trick is to start in a safe place. You have to lower the pressure. It's not a good idea to make your first time speaking a big, important job interview. That's like trying to climb the biggest mountain on your first day.
So you start with a small hill.
A very small hill. For example, you can just speak to yourself. When you're alone at home, just describe what you're doing. I am washing the dishes. These dishes are blue. I am using warm water. It feels silly at first, but you're practicing the physical act of making English sounds without any fear of judgment.
I used to do that. I would talk to my cat in English. He never corrected my grammar.
See, a cat is a perfect audience. The goal is just to get your mouth moving and your brain comfortable with forming English sentences. Then you can find a safe human, maybe one trusted friend who is also learning, and you can agree to speak in English for just 5 minutes.
That's a great idea. It's like a safe playground. You can try things, and it's okay if they don't work perfectly. The first step, speak, is all about creating these low-pressure opportunities to just use your voice.
Exactly. Ordering a coffee in English, asking a tourist for the time. Small, quick interactions. The more you do it, the less scary it becomes.
Okay, so we find the courage to speak, but then the second part of the formula happens. We fail. We make a mistake. We say the wrong word or use the wrong tense. How do we handle that moment? Because it can feel really embarrassing.
It really can. I think the most important thing to do in that moment is to manage your own reaction. In your head, don't say, "Oh, I'm so stupid." Instead, try to be curious. Try to think, that wasn't right. I wonder what the right way is.
That's easy to say, but hard to do in the moment.
It is, but I have a story about this. I was in London once and I wanted to buy some kitchen paper. Paper towels. But I didn't know the word. So I went into a shop and I asked the man, "Excuse me, where can I find paper for the kitchen?"
Okay, I can see the confusion.
The man looked so confused. He said, "You mean like to write on in the kitchen?" And I got so red, I felt so silly. But then I tried to describe it. I said, for cleaning, when you spill water. And he said, "Oh, you mean kitchen roll." And he showed me where it was.
So you failed, but you got what you needed. And more importantly, you learned the word.
Yes, and you know what? I have never, ever forgotten the word kitchen roll since that day. The mistake, the feeling of embarrassment, actually helped me learn. It created a strong memory.
That's a perfect example of the third part of the formula. Grow. Your failure wasn't the end, it was the beginning of a learning moment. You were curious, you tried another way, and you learned the correct word. That's growth.
Exactly. And that grow part is an active process. It's not magic. It's something you do after you fail.
So, what should we do right after we realize we've made a mistake? Should we write it down?
I think that's an excellent strategy. If you can, make a quick note in your phone or on a piece of paper. You don't need to stop the conversation for a long time. Just write down the word you didn't know or the sentence that felt wrong. Later, when you're at home, you can look it up and find the correct way.
That makes so much sense. When you review your mistakes later, you're turning a negative feeling, embarrassment, into a positive action, learning. Your brain starts to see mistakes as opportunities to improve.
Exactly. So we speak, even if we are scared. We will probably fail or make a mistake, and that's okay. We use that mistake to grow by looking up the right answer later.
Which brings us to the last part of the formula, repeat. And honestly, this sounds like the hardest part.
I agree. After you feel embarrassed, your first instinct is to hide, to not speak again for a while. It's a real challenge to be resilient, to bounce back.
So how do we find the motivation to do that? To get back on the bicycle after we fall off?
I think it helps to remember the formula, to say to yourself, okay, that just happened. That was the fail part. I learned from it. That was the grow part. Now it is time for the repeat part. This is just the plan. When you have a clear, simple plan like speak, fail, grow, repeat, it feels less personal and more like a strategy in a game.
It becomes a cycle, a positive cycle. The more you repeat it, the better you get. And the better you get, the more confident you feel.
You've got it. And I think that's the most important realization. Confidence is not something you have. It's something you build. You don't wait to feel confident before you speak.
I love that. So confidence is a result, not a starting point.
Yes, that's it exactly. Confidence is the prize you get for being brave. It is not the ticket you need to enter the show. You just need to be a little bit brave for a few seconds. That's all. Just long enough to ask a question or say hello.
This formula makes it all so clear. Speak, even if it's just to your cat. Fail, and know that it's just information, not a judgment on you.
Grow by actively looking for the correct way later. And repeat. Get back out there and try again, because that is how you build real strength.
And the whole time, we need to remember to be kind to ourselves. Some days will be easier than others. If you have a bad day where you feel very shy, that's okay. Tomorrow is a new day.
Absolutely. The goal is always progress, not perfection. It reminds me that every fluent speaker I know has made thousands of mistakes. They are just the ones who didn't quit. They kept repeating the cycle.
This makes the whole process feel less scary and more like an adventure, a journey where every step, even a wrong one, moves you forward. I feel so much better just talking about this.
Me too. And we hope all of you listening feel inspired to try. Start small, speak, and know that we are cheering for you.
We are! Take this formula and try it this week. See how it feels. It might just change everything for you. Thank you for being with us today.
We'll be back next week with another conversation. Until then, take care, be kind to yourself, and happy learning.
Bye, everyone.